Okay.
Hence,
Hence.
we were at how the Khazar tribe,
Yeah.
uh, how the Khazar tribe
Yeah.
adapted Judaism,
Yep.
and they multiplied,
The multiply.
and they went to, and that's exactly which is prophesized before in time.
And if you think about it, when as it was said that there will be a point when they are licking the copper and silver, as
Yeah,
it has been prophesied in many religions, right?
yeah.
But if you think about it, what do you call it? Yeah,
As in, they were hit hard with the economy.
yeah. They were
Right.
given all that money, and as been said, that it was like, they put the curtains up at the size of mountains. That was the amount specified. If you think about it. Now consider this: they had all that money.
But I think I know what you mean, but it's that would be considered as a bribery, right? But on the other hand, I'm thinking more of a way that
Not
they
bribery.
stripped them. He stripped them off of money. He took all their cash supplies.
But it has been said that he built it, he commanded it. They didn't strip it. He paid. It's like ransom.
Mm-hmm.
It was paid, please don't disturb these people, and be on your way. And when time came, when, of course, it was in Mount Caucasus, they adapted Judaism. From there, they migrated to Europe. Now, over there, I'm not in any sense supportive of Hitler. He was a wrong guy.
Yeah,
Okay?
but he did warn about the things that
He
are.
did warn about it, but like the way he treated those people, that was not right. He killed innocent women and children, to be
Yeah.
honest. That's not the rule of war. He was a terrible guy, to be honest.
And he was a
And it was insane.
no, he was a plan of the Zionist, and I'm of that opinion.
Like a decoy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was a bad guy
Yeah.
that was required for a task, because if you realize, the birth of Israel was right after the Holocaust.
Okay.
So there people adapted so much sympathy that it didn't seem like a bad idea
It's a
for
similar
them
way
to
of
have a place.
it's like a similar way of staging something like the United States 9/11 so they can bitch about it
Exactly.
over and over again and they send their soldiers mindlessly, just like sending them like foot soldiers just to be killed. Those innocent women, men and children, American citizens. What are they dying for? Nothing. It's injustice for them also. They've been fed lies and they need to wake up. And also on our side, because if you think about it, back to the point, the copper and silver was the money they had. They migrated to Europe. They had that copper and silver. The copper and silver, after the Holocaust happened, they did say that the Nazi soldiers, the Third Reich, to extract a lot of gold from the Jews. The gold to these kind of things, a lot of things. And let's just say that the Holocaust ended and they moved to Palestine, which is nowadays occupied territory, Israel versus Palestine. That's how it goes. They had that money, and with that money, they actually started the petrodollar thing because they had money.
That is
And
exactly
think
what I was
about
about
it.
to refer. That's interesting you say.
And think about it. They're licking that money until, and it's also been said that it'll be made obvious in time. So basically, we should like think about it. That copper and silver, they are licking it, and it's obvious to the world. They're licking.
Yeah.
They're using it for wars, for weapons, and a lot of things. They're spending money mindlessly, and they're taxing the IMF loans. A lot of shit they're just extracting.
Of course, like, as you mentioned, the petrodollar, right?
Yeah.
And which is it's one of the very important key words in understanding modern politics. So if we look at that word and we say, okay, what happened in the past, right? If we go way further back, I'm talking, when there was something prophesized by our prophet, peace be upon him, Muhammad,
Prophet Muhammad,
and
peace
he
be upon
said
him.
that there is going to be a mountain of gold that will emerge from the river Euphrates, which is somewhat close to Iraq.
What was the name?
River Euphrates,
River Euphrates.
and it's which is near Iraq, but it can be considered Khalij if you look at
The Gulf.
the entire world map.
Yeah.
So that is very specific to some degree. uh, and he said the mountain of gold is going to emerge from underneath that, and um, people are going to fight for that gold. And and the 99 out of 100 combatants who fight for that gold is going to perish, is going to die. And the job of a believer is that he don't touch that gold. So, and if you relate that to what is happening today, the oil has technically replaced gold,
Yeah. It
as we
has.
had the gold standard before, and that died.
That
And
was
then,
supposed to be a currency, actually.
I mean,
Supposed to be currency.
yeah, and that died, and then came the, I mean, this demand of dollar became from the, like, coming out of Saudi Arabia, oil.
Yeah.
And hence that petrodollar industry is a very important aspect to observe as we look at the events unfolding before us. It's a very important role.
Because the main question that leads is that, as everywhere it's prophesized, right? Gold, oil, all of these things. Like, have you ever wondered, like, these are unbeatable currencies, even though a currency can be anything in nowadays. Bitcoin, the dark web currency, it's untraceable. Now, there's gold. That is the best medium of exchange till now because
And it
limited.
has been for past 4,000 years.
Millennials. This from Bronze Age.
Yes.
We had something else. Now we had this because it is
Do you think
valuable.
it is just odds that we don't have it anymore? Do you think that's a coincidence?
It's
I don't
been
think so.
replaced. It's been
Yes.
replaced.
Yes, it's so obvious.
Because if you think about it, for example, let's say you have a gold ring, all right? You need the money. You're gonna sell your gold ring for a couple of dollars. Okay, let's just say a gold ring could be around, like, say, 500.
Yeah,
Okay, I don't know the gold thing too much, like 12, 24
Yeah.
karat, to be honest.
yeah,
Just like think, you're selling your golden ring. After 2, 3 years, the worth will go up.
yeah.
And if we're talking about it, how many percent?
It's gonna go up by a significant amount.
By significant
Yeah.
amount. And at the same time, in like changes of events and everything the United States have been doing, the dollar will also fluctuate.
Of course,
Because
it'll go
the
down.
dollar-
Inflation.
Inflation. It's kind of like dollar works on gold, but dollar hates gold. Dollar
Yeah.
doesn't like because
Of
dollar
course.
is like
Let me tell you why. There's a very interesting reason. I'll tell you why. Because right after Vietnam War, okay, they started printing so much money to support themselves, and they were having the gold standard that time. And then they realized, okay, we don't have enough gold to support the money we claim.
yeah.
So what do? Cut the ties off. Hence now America is on something called Infinity QE, or rather QE Infinity.
What does that mean?
Quantitative Easing Infinity. Back in 2008, when they released this program, it was like a stimulus package by the Federal Reserve that pumps technically money. There's a lot more details to that. I can't get into details.
Into the
sure.
circulation basically of the economy. Like
See,
people
they
are
buy
using the-
assets from companies and they give them money in exchange so that they can use this money and spend it, and hence, basically, how do you, like, just beating someone's chest to wake them up, like jumpstart
Yeah,
it,
okay.
basically, the system that is. So they have now been printing so much money, and I'm actually surprised by the confidence people have in it, because if it was any other currency, by now it would have been dead. However, like, they're printing in trillions. We're talking.
like think about it. Sorry
No-
for okay, yeah.
There's one more thing I want to talk in a bigger scale of things, though. Say, so suddenly, 4,000 years ago, we were using gold, and now we're at using paper.
Paper.
Right? the only reason that had to happen is because of the advancements that were required. Now, we're in a debt-based economy. We talked about that earlier as well, and I explained you what it is, that everything is technically made out of debt, right? Now, if you were to clear that world debt off, right, to go back in time, you'd have to sacrifice a good life. Everyone stays healthy. People don't go, you know, hungry, sleep. Okay. All this would go down, okay, if there was one thing we could give up. And that one thing is the advancement of humanity, of mankind.
Evolution.
Look at what we're doing. We're reaching stars. We're technically not reaching stars, but we're reaching out there. We're reaching for them.
We're very close to it because, come on, like Elon Musk, his new.
This all
innovations
would
are
have
actually-
never been possible if man had kept itself stuck to the old standards. Now, I'm not against the idea of advancements, right? But I'm more of an opinion that I think human lives are more important, right? The West, the way it has empowered the entire world with machines, is of biblical proportions, is what I
course.
mean. Because I'm a believer of that. And since been talking about this for quite some time, the idea of eschatology is something that fascinates me the most, because it kind of opens up that inner eye, the pineal gland many of them speak of.
Yeah, the decision making.
Yeah, it's just like you see things a lot more clearly, especially when you look at grand scheme of things.
Grand scheme, like. Sorry, I'll follow.
Like we're talking about.
Like on a bigger scale, change of events, something like
Yes.
that. Like, okay, like everything that has been staged in the world to
Yes,
make it live up to that
yes,
point, of course. Because you can't. Here's the thing: you can't make a currency relevant. You can't make paper relevant without keeping it in the spotlight. Dollar is in the spotlight, like I've actually told you before that. The United States. Here's how it works. People grow up with a certain mentality. Okay, in our country, Middle East, Asia, Europe, Eurasia, Africa, everywhere. Now in the United States, they live in a fairy tale that we're the good guys. They have feel this fantasy from Hollywood movies. That's how they think. If a president goes out wears sunglasses, holy shit, who's gonna be like, man, I'm a star, of course. And of course, the American government system is a joke. They elected Donald Trump. Now Joe Biden came. I have no idea what's gonna happen. I'm anticipating it. The guy seems promising, but there's some other things. But of course, the world does not work fair.
honestly,
Of
man,
course.
no. I'll tell you something about Joe Biden, which Trump. Okay, let me tell you this way.
Okay.
A smart criminal is way more dangerous than a dumb criminal.
Of course, he's convincing. That's the thing.
Trump is technically so dumb that the ones in charge would never want him there.
No.
That's the idea. If Clinton had won, so see, it's
like, the place,
it's
the
funny that we're
environment.
coming to this topic of Democrats and Republicans.
Yeah. Here's the
Is-
thing. Here's the
Is-
thing. Here's the thing why it makes sense talking about this, even though we're not from the U.S. It's because whoever gets elected directly affects our country.
Man, it's so
It
obvious.
directly affects
Dude,
our country.
look at
We
all
need-
news
we-
channels. Look
yeah.
at their flag, yeah, red and white. Sorry,
Red, white, and blue.
Yeah, but the colors that are involved in that, aside from white, because that's a neutral color, there's blue and red. And you keep seeing this division so obvious. Even in news channels, you see the backgrounds red and blue. Like any channel that is showing you a poll vote live stream, you're gonna see a blue and a red background.
Yeah.
This is like it's like divide and rule.
Develop rule.
Divide and rule the country. You have these parties just hating each other. You know how many fights happened because Republicans or Democrats and people they were against the topics. Like
Do you know, like, between Democrats and Republicans in the 70s, there were like, okay, are you familiar with the CIA classified file, which is declassified, of course, Operation Northwoods?
Northwood? No, I do
No,
not.
you don't know.
No.
Okay. Okay, I'll just tell you, like, okay, like, I don't have, like, the facility to read it, but I'm gonna summarize it to you. It was something that to gain the interest and the approval of the American people, the public, to invade Cuba against Fidel Castro, okay? How did they manage to convince people that? There were suicide bombings happening in the United States. And I think it was 60s, sorry, 60s. This was happening. No, people, and they were like, those are Cuban suicide bombers. Those are Cuban murderers, Cuban immigrants, Cuban this, Cuban that, blah, blah, blah. American people were like, holy shit, we need to protect our country. Go to war. The whole bullshit happened. The Cuban Missile Crisis, all of this bullshit happened. Okay? Because they had to stage it. This is their fantasy. They have to stage it. The fucking CIA. Because if they don't stage it, what the point they're at right now, Democrats and Republicans are two sides of the same coin.
Yes, exactly.
Although they hate each other, because here's the thing why I
Dude,
felt
it's a
them.
joke.
It's
It
a
really
joke.
is.
It's a joke. But you know what I understand? I'm like, it's a superpower. And it gives the equal it's rigged, of course, but there's an equal opportunity.
Dude, they could
Between two
never
powers, how?
let Trump win again. You know, and if Biden did fuck around with the votes, I would not be surprised. Because as I'm telling you,
They all have
the
to do
ones
it.
in charge do not want Trump there on that seat. No way. Okay? He's just way too dumb for them. Okay?
Why do you think Trump won? He was allowed to win. You know how?
Because of
what was-
just the people, just the racist
No,
people.
No. That's
Wasn't
not,
it?
That's not. That, here's the thing.
Facebook, was it?
Okay. By the time Trump got elected into office, the United States have been fucking around the world, but not as bad as before. It has been, but not as before. You know, it kind of like toned down. Why? And Corona happened. Okay, I'm still like, what do you call, cynical about it, because like I'm thinking, is it like man-made or what? I'm not gonna put conspiracy without definite proof. of course.
Exactly. It was still too early in that stage to
Yeah.
identify what really is the problem.
Yeah. Can be.
We're
Can
in
be.
it right now, so it's
we're in it
yeah.
because if you think about it, in the past, pandemics happened like this, and some of them
Yeah.
actually came from China,
Yeah.
like the Black Plague, actually.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Anyway, so what was I saying? I forgot.
Earlier, when you were
Fucking chill,
referring
dude.
to.
Yeah.
All right.
going
So
good.
earlier, when you were referring to, I'm not too sure, man, but
Train of thought.
you can keep that train going
Keep it going.
because
No. Yeah.
yeah.
So they put Trump over there. Everything got toned down. Everything's fine. Corona happened. Elections came in the right time, actually. Wow. And they put Trump because they were planning for something big. Because look, in every country, there's how it works. Some countries, the president rules. Some countries, the prime minister. It goes like this. Okay? The president does everything. But the actual power behind the president is the Congress. Now, if Trump is there or not, the Congress is doing the job. The Congress and the entire office, they did not want him in because here's the thing. He was placed over there for this purpose. Like, okay, he's an idiot. We could just say, hey, you can be a president. The idea didn't just come into his mind like this. He's a billionaire. He is not that dumb. He's like, if I become a president, I'm gonna like, fire everyone from the office, build a fucking wall. No. Okay, it was his agenda, but why was he put there? What made it piqued his interest? He was offered, of course. It's very obvious because the time he was placed over there, America started actually spending way more money on military budget and education and everything, and even in science, as Professor Dr. Neil deGrasse Tyson said, that it's embarrassing that on education they don't value as much as weapons in that course of 4 years. Now Biden is here.
Bro, even the education's fucked.
It's fucked for a
Of course,
reason.
man,
It's fucked for
it's-
a reason. When you run a country which has the currency that controls the world, is also going to control within itself in everything. So if inflation happens in one state, the other state all across will suffer. Low-paying teachers. Why? Because all the pays of teachers are how? Tax. People are paying their tax. But why isn't it going in teachers' paychecks? Why? Because their tax somehow surprisingly just floats around in a fucking bunker. Every fucking time. Or something stupid happens. Like you've noticed, like people like I had friends from the U.S. and they said like that's where our tax money is going, and I'm just like, holy fuck. I'm like, shit, man. Like the
Honestly, right now in Corona now, they're far beyond
repair.
money. They're far beyond money to salvage from taxes, bro. They're so like the Fed, the way how they would run their system is that someone takes a loan from you and you print money. Basically,
Yeah.
debt-based economy. That's how much do you print depends on how much loan is being taken. Now, the Fed, keeps its, of course, interest that, okay, you take money, we print for you. We give you this money. And by the way, some of the shareholders that the Federal Reserve of the United States are Rockefellers and Rothschilds.
Yeah.
And Federal Reserve is a private institute. Yes. It is fucking crazy to believe that.
Oh,
Why is
that's
it a
the-
private institute? Because when obviously you have shares in a company, that company no longer belongs just to a person, but it belongs to every single person who's having a share of that company.
When you privatize economy, the problem is that it always leads up to the 1%. They're the ones running it. And when it's private, the owner does not need to follow the rules. The owner can do whatever the fuck they want. It's just like they're above the law. Isn't it? And if you think about it, leading to that power of all this money, there's always two powers. There's Rothschild, Rockefellers. There's always two, Democrats, Republicans, some left or right, left wing, right wing. It goes top, again, two sides of the same coin, to one person pulling strings. Now, we all know little boy Cyclops. But think about it. Now, all that money, like you said before, cannot be salvaged. It'll be printed more and more and more and more. Why do they say in songs you can't eat money? Because money is so much. It's printed in huge plethora of like amounts stacked up that the resources to buy is limited than the currency. And this shouldn't happen on a planet.
I swear, people who believe that dollar will last are living in fool's paradise.
It's gonna collapse.
It's gonna crash so bad. And let me tell you why exactly it's
The
gonna
higher
crash
they
so
go,
bad.
the harder
See,
they fall.
back in those days when you had gold to attach to a currency, it's something solid you have as a backbone, okay, that determines the value. Dollar and fiat currency at the moment are all reliant on supply and demand. Basically, if there is a demand for a currency, then you can have a lot of supply of it. People's like confidence in dollar is supreme, is very strong,
That's where the demand comes from.
and hence they can supply a lot, and that's why they are. But there is a limit to which they can. Hyperinflation is evident in there has never been like there. I was watching this video with, I can't remember the amount of currencies that have been there in terms of paper money in the past, but it was in like hundreds of thousands. And none ever survived. 0% rate of survival of a fiat currency in a financial system.
Competitor printed too much, had a lot more gold behind it. That's where the gold is. It had power to. It's basically, here's the thing. Like you said, the confidence of dollar. Dollar is like marketing. Of course, it's currency, but it's dollar, so it's gonna be marketed around the world. Dollar, dollar. Even though euro is strong, pound is also strong, but like even okay, we can take dinar, dirhams. They're also strong, but the dollar has been marketed so well and strategically to the public for decades that people are like confident. Okay, peaks up their confidence, the demand. They're like, oh, they have demand, we have supply. They fucked up at a point where they were like, they forgot to realize the most common sense that the amount of gold they have is the amount of money they can have in a system, right? They printed so much money, then they're just like, oh fuck, we just ran out of gold. That means we will lose the market. Why not just start hyperinflation, all of these things? But the reality is, we have a lot of money, limited resources, and the gold we were basing the dollar off as a backbone was gone like God knows how many years ago or decades.
See, at still right
Think
now,
about it.
at the moment, the highest gold reserves available is in US. USA has the majority of the gold of the planet. Now, that's a lot of power, by the way. Having that much gold is a lot of power. Hence, this is my assumption that the fall of dollar is not a tragedy, but it is a milestone achieved for a world order to end. And another one to begin.
A better one.
We don't know.
We don't know how
What
many
I'm
series
saying-
is this gonna come in.
That's what I'm saying. That do you think they will be this dumb to realize that this is not gonna fall? You think America is so smart where it is? America's a puppet. It's puppet of the richest people on earth. And the majority of those richest people on earth are Jews. So the transpiring of power from this to that is a very hard one to assume. If I say
I think kind of makes sense. It makes sense. Makes sense. Because, for example, shekel is the one that should be ruling, right? But like I told you before,
that's
like
what they want.
shekel will come.
And FYI, if shekel was to rule supreme, Israel was to rule supreme, that is also going to be used just the way US was.
by something bigger.
Yes.
Big fuck small.
But what is the Jew like? That's also a step. You will see so many rabbis talking on this topic. I'm talking about genuine rabbis going like Zionism. David West is this a
David
guy?
West, yeah.
He came on Jazeera saying that Zionism has hijacked our religion
It is
to
true.
to accomplish its own tasks. And this power it dates far back, right? So I again not a fan of conspiracy theories because I'm a man of pure sound logic, and if I see logic and I connect dots and I'm like, you know what, that case really makes sense, then I would proceed with that.
Yeah, of course.
So the way things are revolving around Israel and it eventually being used by a bigger power, and I mean this is where we get eschatological, that if we're talking about the return of the Messiah, right?
And Imam Mahdi.
And Imam Mahdi. However, that is not going to happen before the Antichrist comes. Now, Israel still believes that their Messiah is to come. They have been believing that for over 2,500, 3,000 years.
3,500.
After Sulaiman alayhi salam, they said,
King Solomon.
Yes.
Solomon, peace be upon him.
he said that we're waiting for a Messiah. guess what? Jesus came. He came
He can't.
for that nation. But the laws that he came with would make Jews very poor. Because what he said,
Charity.
charity, majority of it, share with your neighbor, give out as charity. That's not gonna work with them. And well, they've been cursed in a way because a lot of messengers did go to them. However, Jesus came and they crucified him, right? Now this is where, like, I'm gonna. This is a very important point in time where when Jesus Christ was crucified, there were two people where they were divided. There, right? The children of Israel turned into two categories: people who wept and people who smiled that day. Those were the Jews and the
Christians.
Christians. Hence, Christians then, in further down in the line, like they were all basically cursed by God, saying, you know what, get out of this area. And then later Muslims did come and rule that area. So as far as Muslims rule goes, in stage of world stage, it's gone. It was there, it had its time, and it's gone, and it's not gonna come back. And however, when the Christians left, okay, and the Jews left, the Jews were cursed that you will never ever be able to establish an empire of your own, or even a state of your own, yeah, under your Judaism. You cannot, banished, not allowed. However, the people who were like, weeping the day Jesus Christ was crucified, it was unfair if God did the same, right? So he gave them a land of their own.
Constantinople.
Yes.
Modern day
Constantinople.
Istanbul.
Yes. Hence, that area, the Hagia Sophia, it is such an important landmark. I cannot stress enough.
It is. It is indeed. And the thing is that it has been changed. And at that point, I have to say that as a Muslim, it is embarrassing. It's extremely embarrassing. You have no right to change anyone's place of worship according to your liking. You
No,
can't.
we cannot. It's hypocrite. It's like you're being a hypocrite then. Because say, if
You're invading.
Jews were someday, eventually, to, finalize their third temple, because
It
that
has been started, like the construction has been going on for like, I think the early 2000s or something since I was young. But I think it's done from down.
under below.
Underground. Now it's gonna go up, and when they're gonna start constructing it above, that means the events will come above actually, because it's gonna be obvious. Because people are gonna ask who you're making for, and they're gonna like give a simple
Plus
answer
on
like
top of that, because it's on what's that area called? I can't remember. The hill that it stands on, which Solomon alayhi salam made it on, and Temple Mount, and you would have to eliminate Masjid Aqsa out of that scenario in order to finalize the temple and finish it, and kind of replicating what Solomon had. So, what would the Muslim community say to the Jews that, hey, don't destroy our, to make your own?
They're gonna ask us like,
What
look
about
who's,
you?
look who's talking, and we can't say anything at that point.
No, we cannot. And a lot of this does go further down in details on what kind of Muslims, because there are different types of Christians, there are different types of Muslims. Saudi Arabia, again, being a part of it, is, I would call, like, the root of all evil in the Middle East.
Saudi Arabia is like that in Middle East, as if America is to a world. It's a small puppet.
Yeah.
A puppet with gold, fool's gold, oil. The US is just sucking it like a fucking mosquito, but Saudi Arabia is like, I will be rewarded for something, you know? I'm doing something, like, you know, I'm doing good. I'm doing good. I'm well off, but that's an illusion. Because the dollar will fucking fall. You're gonna go down with it. You're gonna look like an idiot in front of everyone. But the thing is, we all are gonna go down because everything is under dollar, except some countries, like for example, Iran doesn't rely on it. The US has problems with Iran. Russia, the US has problems with Russia. Syria, let's be honest. I'm gonna be blunt about it, but come on, they did not have an IMF loan. They were also preferring to switch to gold coins or something else, but not away from dollar. Look what happened. Afghanistan, what happened? Iraq, name them. You go against the
You know,
US,
Afghanistan,
they will
not
play
what
it out.
happened. I would say what is yet to happen, because Afghanistan is in no means in control of USA, and they cannot control it.
It's the government. The government is placed over there. They're placed over
I'm
there.
telling you, the
Afghanistan,
Taliban-
I know that they are
Taliban's gonna
smart.
bite in the ass of the US. Guarantee you.
Taste of their own medicine. Because they created it. It's not a problem. But that till that point is not that easy. Or that's far because every time, every like 2 to 3 years, or every year they're just like, oh, we're gonna pull our soldiers back. Then they're like, no, why are some there? Poppy, opium, come on. They have to get something out of it. They're not. It's like a souvenir, you know.
Yeah.
Just like I invaded Afghanistan, but all I
Coming
got
back,
is a
or we're
shirt.
just bringing some goods.
Something, right? But the thing is,
Funny, right?
Afghan people are strong. They know what's happening. Again, government, same with us, Pakistan. Everyone is being brainwashed because all of those. You know, this reminds me of a scene from Kingsman. Have you watched Kingsman?
First.
The first one, exactly. The like all the leaders that got this chip embedded into their neck. They won't die, and everyone who buys the sim, they'll just become out of control if the government wants. But the people who have chip in their necks, they won't be affected by it, right? What's the sim? Sometimes like okay, it's my assumption, but it's like dollars. It's like the government is like of every country is like okay, we embrace dollar, the citizens should too, the ones, and they'll go crazy over it because everyone's gonna have it. And if someone else has the sim, the sound of the sim, the ringtone is gonna affect you. It's like you're gonna see dollar, you're gonna see other person with money, loan, debt. It's marketing. It's my assumption, but it's pretty like you know. I'm not crazy, am I? It's just like
I
it's
wouldn't.
very like it's not. I'm not gonna say obvious or common. I'm gonna say like think about this. It is a possibility because come on, there's so much going down nowadays. You like, it's. I'm not like. I just think like this. No, it's like no. It kind of makes sense if you connect the dots, being logical on it, because again, Hollywood, marketing. Come on, they're marketing dollars indirectly. Look, if you watch a movie, you're like, oh, Cola, Pepsi, holy shit, there's a phone, an iPhone, Nokia, this and that, blah, blah, blah. We're like, where are they like? But they are actually marketing their dollar. Where? Like this. But it's not obvious. Of course, it's a scene in a movie, but think about it. Money,
the dollar
cars,
wants
all
to
this is
buy
materialism.
You. Dude, the dollar wants to buy you.
Yeah.
It is as simple as that.
Simple as that. You're right.
It wants to buy you.
Holy shit.
Uncle Sam wants to give you gifts.
Uncle Sam wants you. Uncle Sam wants you to die for useless wars. Uncle Sam wants your tax. Uncle Sam wants your confidence in the fake money. Uncle Sam wants your confidence in attacking other countries that haven't done shit to you, but you feel like it because you know they might have some goods with them that we can steal. They're like modern day pirates. They're pirates around the world. It's like I'm gonna take it. I'm gonna take everything I want. Fuck you. And the US fucks shit up and he's like, I'm sorry I broke your vase. I can get you a new one, but you have to pay me back. And they're like, what the fuck? They're like, where else can you find a vase like that? I have it. That's how they embed their democracy into a country. You get into debt. Here's the thing. Let's just say in Pakistan, okay? We had corrupt leaders, good leaders, ups and downs, but we have been fucked to a point of no return. But I have a bit of hope we might, but it's gonna take some time. It's going.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, think about this. Some after a certain point, Pakistan started to go to shit.
Mm.
Who plays the leaders over there? Who installed leaders in these countries?
You know the
Either they installed them or they made a deal with some fucking pirates in every
Dude,
country.
here-
Crooks.
Here's the
They're
thing.
criminals,
Let,
man.
let me
All of them.
elaborate on your point. Yeah. When you're talking about, okay, what are we? We kind of Jamhuriyat, right? Or we're Republicans.
Yeah.
However, we have been a lot for around how long now? How many years?
1947, sorry, minus 2020. That's I'm too actually chill to actually calculate
Okay,
that.
it's
amount.
like it's less than 100 years. Okay, definitely.
Around
70?
77, 78.
Yeah,
I'm
okay.
sorry if I make a mistake in that.
Doesn't make a difference. Around that time. And all these democracies that start, you know, being established and an Independence Day takes place for a country. Soon after, the Brits go back home. I don't find it a coincidence that after, because if you look at the map of British colonization, it will shock your mind because it is very hard to find a part land which does not have a British flag.
Yeah. Well, they were the biggest empire on the planet.
Of all time.
Of all time.
Yes.
They topped it. The
Yes.
entire world
Yes,
was
they
in
did.
their hand.
Yes, it was bigger than any empire ever before, ever.
At that time, the sterling was around the world like dollars today.
Of course, that was the international reserve currency. But here's the thing. Uh, right after they, you know, got into war, they started losing money. Fiat currencies never work out. They had to retreat back all their, you know, established lands back to their tiny island where they belong.
Brexit.
Well,
Even Europe didn't like it.
But anyways.
Europe is like, come on.
the power that is behind the whole industry of England that it was, right? Again, bigger picture. What's using America? What's going to use Israel? And what has already used before, as what we can witness. What's gonna happen with US is what happened with UK. It got used and it was thrown away. It's US's turn now. That was Pax Britannica, now it's Pax Americana. Soon to come Pax Judaica, right? So if you look at Pax Britannica, after it lost its empire and it went back to where it is now, democracy started evolving on every part of the world.
Right after. Immediately it was installed.
You look at, you look at the map of Africa, and you see blocks, divided land, right? That's distributed. India, Pakistan. The reason why we are not one country is not off the basis of Hindu and Islam. That is the reason that has been. It was a very
An idea of divide and conquer.
It was a
they
very
installed.
effective tool to create that reason.
Of course, they embedded it in everyone's mind
If
that hey,
Pakistan
divide and
see,
conquer.
yes, if Pakistan and India were together right now, they would have hard time because this then would be another Russia or another China. That's a big problem. We're a lot of fucking people. So
And the economy gets weaker.
what do? You divide and rule. Gandhi. He was killed not by a Muslim guy, but an RSS movement which was in Hindu movement.
By a Sikh.
Hence, it was very obvious, and even now, India and Israel are very close friends, FYI. So the reason why we're separate, India and Pakistan, is because of the higher power that's working these things.
Because before we used to live under one ideology, coexistence. And like you said, today's China or Russia. Then, if today Pakistan and India were okay with each other, then China and Russia would have been like, well, because that's a problem in Asia right now. Russia is trying to convince them both, like, hey, stop fighting. Let's adopt a different currency because you guys can get fucked, and we need to set our barriers up high because the time has come for the Great War to happen. And what are we still
Not
busy?
far.
Not
Not
far.
far.
And you know the problems, unfortunately, is that education. Education is a main thing. If we realize this, we're like, oh shit, dude, like we have to team up and let's join forces against them, because shit's about to go down. And the problem is that something's gonna happen back and forth in Asia, some plot twist, something. Because here's the thing, I have a feeling how the Great War is gonna happen. It's gonna happen. Of course, it's been prophesized, but there's certain things to make it is from the other opposition party that's gonna be stage a lot of things, which is gonna lead up the road to the war. 9/11, ISIS, IRA, this and
9/11
that.
is so obvious.
It is.
You know, like, time passes by after a certain event, and the more obvious things start turning out. You look at, further events before that, like the reasons behind cutting the dollar off with gold, right? You figure out the reasons why it happened. 9/11 happened, you figure out the reasons why it happened. Corona right now, after 20 years in time, you're going to figure out the reasons why it happened. And I tell you, a scheme this big here is
They're rushing it.
no,
if you think
no,
about
a
it.
scheme this
If it's actually man-made.
it's a scheme if it's, and I'm not saying, I'm saying it not with a doubt, but with absolute certainty that a scheme this big is, how would I say, of course, as I always say, of biblical proportions. And 9/11, see how I interpret, when I say biblical proportions, something is very important in this scenario, and that is that a lot of people are, their eyes are on one particular topic, object, whatever it
A
is.
trend, basically.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a lot of energies looking into one particular scenario. That scenario then is of grand schemes. Coronavirus is of very big schemes, but so was 9/11. When the eyes of the world were watching that before their eyes. And that was something very uh, important event that had to happen for everything that is happening in Middle East to take place.
It's
Otherwise,
like
it would never.
it's like a step towards the
It's a
new world order.
milestone.
A milestone towards the new world order.
Milestone.
And I think Corona on this big scale, if it's true, if it's man-made, I'm
If
not
it's
saying
this big in scale,
they're rushing
tell-
it. They're
I'm telling
rushing
you,
the
it
fuck
is.
out of it.
It is meant to be.
There are the predictions of Nostradamus, right? Like one of his predictions actually stated, and also like a lot of people predicted like certain things are gonna happen. Like, do you know about Baba Vanga?
No, I do not.
It was this woman, this old woman actually, her age back in '96, and she was
Blind
from
woman.
a blind woman.
Right?
She was, yeah, I think Bulgaria. Yeah, Bulgaria.
Yeah. I've heard of her.
She kind of like made this prediction that after like a couple of years, humanity is gonna get hit by a pandemic. There's gonna be in America something's gonna happen. 9/11. Some things were not true. Some were very accurate. That's why people said like she's like Nostradamus, like second Nostradamus of modern day. And I think she died in '96. And before, like, I don't know which from which particular age she was started predicting, but like this corona thing was kind of like one of the things, like the world's gonna get hit by a deadly disease. People are like SARS, and back in 2003,
You know,
swine flu,
I'll
something
tell you
like
the
that.
reason
But
why I think why she's able to do what she is.
Hmm.
Like, say, well, she is blind,
Hmm.
right? And I remember you mentioning you this earlier. The symbolism behind, like, this is how I connect dots
Hmm.
of eschatology
Hmm.
with actual facts, what are
Hmm.
happening in front of us, right? What is that reason of having one eye on a symbol of Illuminati?
Hmm.
The word Illuminati, again, it comes from illumination, or to illuminate.
Enlightened.
People of who are enlightened
Hmm.
are being illuminated,
Mhm.
right? So, a person like Einstein could be an Illuminati
Hmm.
because he's a person of illumination,
Hmm.
right? Thinking of another, bigger scale, or rather deeper into things. However, it comes with one very important law that you observe something and you just observe it the way it is physically, and no bias should ever come into that law. Everything what it is from the basis of what you see from your external eyes.
Mhm.
Logic,
Logic.
right?
Hmm.
So, what is science right now that we have of today? It's
Logic and
everything that we
facts.
have see in front of our eyes. Okay. Uh, so, what the eschatology side says about this is that you have basically two eyes, right? You have the external eyes, and there's an internal eye, which is your second eye. Like, no matter what culture you talk about in back in those days, no matter whether they're worshiping the sun or they're worshiping whatever they're worshiping, nevertheless
They need to
there's
have this
something
concept
inside their, you know, internally in them that is built in.
that there's a creator above us all.
Yes, there is some sort. There's a level of spirituality in every single one of them.
Hmm.
Okay, now that spirituality is the inner eye. This lady, how I'm sensing is that she is blind, obviously, and she is cut off from that physical eyes to the outside. FYI, the dollar having the symbol of one eye representing materialism,
Saudi Arabia's police, law enforcement,
symbolizing the one eye.
music industry,
It's everywhere, of course.
movies, everywhere.
But it's all got to do with you forgetting your religion. They want to make this world so secular. This is the eschatology side. Now, eschatology, if you look at it in a very proper way, when you look at different ones, you join the dots and you look at them together, you realize the actual fight is between truth versus false. The religions, whatever way they are representing something, they're representing it through a way of belief, right? Some law. Whereas the other side is the secular side, which represents materialism and everything that is in front of us as existence. Funny that Islamic eschatology, like there has been before, about the Antichrist in Christianity, but when Islam came, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, was mentioned that some of the tiny details of the Antichrist to come. That being that Antichrist only looks from one eye. Okay? There's another reference in the Quran when it's talking about when Prophet Sulaiman alayhi salam saw a jasad sitting on his throne. Now, a jasad in Arabic translates to something which is a body without a soul. So, if you see a mannequin, what is it? It's a jasad. It's a body, but it does not have a soul, right?
All right.
And that's what he saw, and he just asked God soon after that, terrified, saying, God, grant me a kingdom that none shall inherit after me. So he obviously just said that after fear because he was not comfortable looking at that Jesse. He said that because he felt that that thing, whatever it is trying to accomplish what he accomplished. Because he had a very big kingdom as well. Huge.
He ruled over the world.
Yes, he was the king of the world at
The
that
king
time.
of the world.
Yes, he was. So, and the Jasad wanted to rule the same. Now, this is where eschatology starts making sense when you connect the Islamic, the Judaism, the Christian eschatology. You look at Jews; they're still waiting for a Messiah to come. That Messiah will come. Only that he's going to be a Messiah for them, but he's going to be an Antichrist for Christians and Dajjal for Muslims.
Yeah, absolutely. And also at the same time, up till when this thing will happen, if you think about it, it has already started, obviously. His coming, his forthcoming, it's already been prepared. Now, like you said about King Solomon Sulaiman alayhi salam, peace be upon him, that his place, he was the king of the world. He saw the Jasad. Now, that's the Dajjal's reference. So the Dajjal is gonna play God.
Exactly.
He's basically going against God. He's gonna be like,
Yes.
I'm gonna become a king of the world, even though you have restricted this to King Solomon. I will take it. I will create my own world,
And that is
and I'll be the creator above all the 1%. That he's gonna play God, like God is the creator behind everything. He's like, I am the one who runs everything. So he's gonna play God only on this small planet. If you
But
think about it,
where will he rule from when he does arrive? When he arrives, he's going to rule for a time.
for a time.
And he is going to rule from exactly where Suleiman alayhi salam had his throne. Where is that located? Jerusalem, Temple Mount. And that's why the third temple is important. Now, this is all eschatology, right? When we talk about the powers, why do they keep saying Illuminatis are Satanists and all that? There's some truth to it. There's a reason why they say these things. So, eschatology says that Dajjal is going to come in. He's going to. This was the hadith that you went like, I think. Yeah, Dajjal is going to rule for 40 days. His first day is going to be a year long. Second day is going to be a month long, and third is going to be like a week long, and the rest of his days like your casual days, normal days. Now, again, you got to look at metaphors. Whenever you go to
Metaphors.
you
it's-
have to.
You have to decode it.
You have to decode it. You have to look at you have to look at a bigger picture, the way it is, like the emergence of mountain of gold, right? Which is oil. However, it's a metaphor of something. So, first year reign that the Dajjal had is technically over. We are that 1 year has passed, and the second phase, which is going to be a month long, is where we are, but towards the other half, towards the later half of this month. A week long, and then the rest are to come, normal days. That 1 year represents the first that has passed, is a reign of an era where his power began, Dajjal's power began, and that was the British Empire. Dajjal was technically born the moment something took place, very big, and it's called the Great Schism. And that was when the Christians separated from being Eastern and Western. Then it became Eastern Orthodox and Western Roman Catholics. And that's where the Dajjal was born. his power began there. Of course, you know, people are being used in this, and but if you know, like, if you want to go deeper into some weird stuff, but science, in my opinion, is like a forbidden fruit.
Forbidden fruit.
Technology that we have right now is the forbidden fruit. It almost feels like, because the powers, the
God damn, you're
machines-
gonna blame Apple for that?
and it's bitten off.
It's
It's
bitten
chewed
off.
off, bro.
It's chewed off. But come on, man. Like, iTunes, like, it's not nice. But I prefer Spotify. We're not being sponsored. I'm just bringing it up.
Man, you
But
know,
but it's funny. if you
second
think about
so
it.
second part of it, which was the month long, is
Mm-hmm.
the reign of USA. The week long is yet to come, according to eschatology, which is going to be Judaica, Pax Judaica. Israel is going to rule. And once Israel is done ruling, the Dajjal will come then. After that. Because, here's the thing. Right now, we're way too many people to control. We are way too many.
But by the way, it was also prophesized in Islam that there will be, I don't know, there was a number, but like false Dajjal will come. And the thing is, like, there was this Jewish rabbi, of course, rabbi. I think it was, no, it wasn't a rabbi. It was this guy. He was in the army of the IDF, and he had this some linkage to the higher government power. His family was from that background, and he kind of brought this that Israel is preparing for something. It's so big that my humanity is crying, and I want to leave. I'm gonna kill myself, but I can't stand this environment. And they were like, "What do you mean?" It was like, it's pretty fucked up. It's they're preparing for something dangerous. They're gambling, because even I can feel that you can't do what you're doing for too long, because it'll come to an end. What rises falls, and the harder they rise, the higher they rise. Sorry about that. The harder they fall.
Yep.
Because, look, it's kind of like this. You give a kid a lot of money. The kid's gonna spend the money on every useless shit. Now, wars, useless marketing, materialism, trends, whatever they're keeping us busy in. Now, that kid is gonna spend that money so fast that he's gonna run out of it. This is what's gonna happen. Because like, look, you cannot rule forever under a good agenda. And I'm not saying that it's like rainbows and butterflies world, but the thing is, you can't just rule like that uncontrollably. Now, of course, that's where they can say that we have power. What's your power? Weapons. Okay. We have a land. Okay. The biggest thing, dollar to shekel. And keep this in mind. Again, it's my assumption, but sterling fell. First one. Second, dollar is gonna fall when shekel comes. Shekel is gonna be way fucking powerful, strong, and again, it's either at that time they're gonna take out their gold reserves and they're gonna
Yes.
put it in the market that they've been
Yes.
hiding,
Yes. That's the time.
or they're gonna
use
print.
gold.
And in the end, their demise is gonna be different. Look, for the U.S., what's their demise? If you look for it? The fall of dollar. For this British pound, what was their fall? What was the reason? Think about it.
Fall of British.
Sterling, yeah, the empire. Because ideologies, wars,
with Germans, yeah.
war, but it's not with Germans. It's with every country
Yeah.
that was at war. They revolutionized. The world kind of realized we can unite against them and push them to one corner. That's what's happened to that. Now for shekel again. Shekel is gonna do with all the dollars. Shekel is gonna get greedy again. Zionists are the most greediest fuckers out there.
Yes.
They're gonna be like, we have so much money, we're gonna spend it blindly until they're like, oh, we're fucking broke, just like the US. And some other way they're gonna get fucked. But the most
They will get
prophesized way they're gonna
will
get
get
fucked is when the Antichrist comes. At a point, he's gonna realize, like, okay, I have this power, but when the Messiah, Jesus Christ, as he says, peace be upon him, when he comes, that's where it's gonna stop. That's where their demise comes. And
Yeah.
because there's always something that's gonna stop.
See, I think, you know, it's probably that after Israel comes in power, it will be sometime later of it. Okay, let's take a look at ratios. Yeah, 100 years prophesies, around 400 years in actual time
All right.
that it was of British Empire. A month long, it seems almost like 100 years to you,
Longer time.
right?
That makes sense.
Right, like 100 years for America, and if we are to anticipate that
The
how
ruling will
long-
be shorter.
it will be definitely shorter. And if we were to give it a number, I would think somewhere around 20 years, 15 years, their ruling will last. And in which,
It's also been mentioned that I think 40 years, something like that.
yeah,
40 years.
yeah, it ruled for
It's-
40 days, but
40.
the time scales always.
Time scale you can estimate it to like 40 years because it's also been said, if I'm not wrong, right?
Honestly, like, God is the best of Christopher
Best.
Nolan's at this.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
if you even look at that verse about the people of the cave, the friends of the cave, Surah Al-Kahf,
So it's okay.
in which those, I think, 5 boys and a dog, like 5 boys slept, and they woke up after like 300 years, but after a long time, and they asked each other like, how long did we sleep for? And they, like, one said maybe 2 days, I think. You know, they were just as a symbol of their, like, a miracle to them in itself, because this is like a miracle to happen.
It's a miracle.
Yeah. So time is, you know, irrelevant in many types of metaphors when you look at, especially in Quran. It could be in any eschatology, whether it be Christian or Jews, and it is also there predominantly in Islam that these metaphors are used. God damn.
Goddamn. Interesting. This was actually interesting, and
this
it
was
was
amazing,
the first
yes.
podcast we made. And I'm like, interesting. Like, yeah.
Though I think if we had started, because, you know, whether it be here or not really wouldn't make a difference, because we're technically most of the time talking towards it, and always are. So, but in order to perhaps interpret it again, you know, and understand your own ideas, might, you know, it's like feedback, your own feedback to yourself. But anyways, it was really fucking good, man.
It was. All right. It was
Nice.
fantastic.
Indeed it was.